we had seat belts on the chairs, we might need them. We're going to fly through a lot of different options today about looking at sharing content that you may have with the lesson. And the goal is to keep you from becoming completely overwhelmed is to look at the features and think about what they offer. And I'll have a little plan at the end that you can put into place that will leave you in a starting place and you can work from there. This particular session, what I want to focus on is a bit of how do we take what's on the iPad and get it out there to the students, whether onto their device or projecting it, getting that content to them to be able to view during class, outside of class, whatever the situation may be. And why do we want to use the iPad for this tool in teaching? There's a couple of advantages I see here is mobility. If I'm using some sort of traditional PowerPoint lecture, there's applications I can choose with the iPad where now I can move around the room and I can be wherever I want to be and still be projecting up onto a screen, TV, whatever the configuration is that you have. You can record what you're presenting. A number of apps have that feature now, where as you're presenting that content in class, you're recording it. That then can be warehoused in the cloud. Students who are absent say, oh, we'll check out today's lesson, go view that, and then you can work on the activity we have that night. So it's a time-saving tool, perhaps, in that respect. Being able to switch between applications and content very quickly. I like that feature quite a bit. Me in one app doing one thing, switch quickly to another, and then you take a look at something else. The other thing I do in my class all the time is, and we're configured with a setup of TVs and Apple TVs, is when we're working on something, a student has a very good example of a good start on a project or something. I'll say, hey, put it up on the screen so everyone can take a look and see where you're at with that. And immediately they can connect in, show it up there, and see. That to me is a real value because when you're talking about presenting, our students in our school, the seniors, let's say, have a senior project, of course, that is a presentation to a panel of 3, 4, 5 people. And any one of them could be in any of those rooms with their device, connect into that device, use that for their presentation, and then be done. We used to do this with laptops and connecting, then they'd have to have flash drives and have this to make sure it would work. And this way, they've checked everything on their iPad. Now it's nothing more than just mirroring that image onto the screen. And the technical woes that we used to encounter really have plummeted because of that capability of anybody being able to connect in. The configuration, again, that we're looking at the Franklin Academy, which really would be my recommendation if you're looking to outfit a school, would be to take those 70-inch TV is what we have in most of our classrooms. That 70-inch TV plus the Apple TV box, I was able to get combined for about $1,800. How many of you have smart boards or panel boards or one of those other? Anyone know how much that costs to put on the wall? $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, or $7,000, depending on where you live and what kind of configuration, what model, and other supporting things you get in installation. So the cost structure, and anyone know the hour life of a bulb on one of those projectors? 3,000 hours, right around that. Anyone know the life of this screen? 50,000 hours. Okay, you get a better quality image. You get. I mean, I actually teach my class in one of the few classrooms I have that has a smart board in it, and I just want to curse when I come in here because it's been there for a number of years. The bulb life is on its downward trend. Things are getting dim, and it's just not optimal. But there I am working in that sort of a situation. Having the TV really is a different story. And when you're looking at outfitting these, it's something to do. I've put some resources out there. One of the resources on the Edmodo page is an article I did about the Apple TV, the new smartboard. About 3-4 weeks after putting that article out there, Smart Technologies actually called me from Canada and said, tell me about what you're doing. and they were kind of curious as to, you know, what the configuration I had was doing, how that compared to their product, because I guess they were feeling, uh-oh, we've got a problem here. And as far as I know, really looking at what their latest products, because I keep up with those things pretty well, they still do not have something that's a good match in terms of cost match with what you can do, or really image quality at the end. Now, are there good things about interactive whiteboard packages? Yes. I mean, you have some instructors who really utilize the software applications that come with it and all of the resources. I mean, certainly that's fabulous information and great tools for teachers to have. But honestly, I walk through my building where I go to any school, what percentage of those teachers actually maximize those resources versus being a glorified projector in the classroom? Yeah. That's really what I see going on out there at a much larger percentage. So you've got these basic components that you're going to need. You know, you've got an HDMI cable, you've got the Apple TV box, you've got the TV, and then the iPad's connecting out to it. We have configured these in our school so that each has a unique identifier. Teachers can go and change passwords. We have sort of a default setting, but you do have to think this through, because let's say Daniel is in this room. If he knows the access code to the Apple TV over in flight A there, he could just stream whatever he wanted to at the moment if he's on the same network. You know, and so you have to think about that in terms of the school structure. You know, some kid in room 200 is sending something to 100, and you know that's popping up on the screen. But you can do some password changing and things by class if you need to make that happen. But in general, if someone's putting something up on the TV, you can find out who that is pretty quickly. I'm like, what are you doing there? Now, my son, who's in school, he likes to keep on trying to get his screen to come on my computer. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Because this little box pops up, yes, allow access. I just want you to see what I was doing in class today. Oh, Lordy. Leave me alone a little bit. But, you know, you can mirror these out to laptops as well with AirServe, which is a package that we have put on our MacBooks. And that AirServe acts the very same way that the Apple TV box would. I'll do some of that here where I'm just connecting into my laptop, and then it's used to the projector that way. And again, I've used, some of you may have heard of Reflector or Doceri, or there's a number of different ones. Key question to ask there, how does it get the information that it's streaming? Is it through Bluetooth? Bluetooth is inherently sort of shaky, unstable. Okay? My Reflector, because I used Reflector for a while, it was okay, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. You know, it's sort of a little squirrely when you start trying to use that in the classroom. This is a much more stable connection, I find, because it's relying on that wireless network versus Bluetooth. And if you have as much hardwired as you can, that's best. Now this box that's sitting down here, which is the Apple TV box, for this configuration, just so if you're kind of interested how we work this out, my IT guy made a presenter's network in each one of these rooms, okay? And I have the box hardwired into the access point. So I'm going wireless from my laptop or my iPad to that access point, and it's coming hardwired to this. It will work wirelessly both ways. If I wanted to, I could unplug that. But you have to think about your infrastructure, and any way you can cut out that streaming of that media on one of those directions through the air to hardwire, you're going to really help out the network and the stability of the connection. All of our Apple TVs, the boxes are hardwired into our network system. All of the access of the content coming to them is wireless. Okay? So it's sort of one-way wireless, and the other way is coming in part to the device. That's helped with the stability, and I would encourage you to do that when you start thinking, okay, now I'm going to have 10s, you know, 20, 30, 40 classrooms that are having these boxes. I think hardwiring them is going to really make sense for bandwidth considerations. Questions about this configuration? Okay, if you have a projector, and that projector could be standing alone like this, or as part of a projection system like a smartboard, and I actually didn't look at this one closely enough, but if it has an HDMI connection like this one does, You can plug that Apple TV into that HDMI connection, which is what I did with my smart boards. I just had the little black Apple TV box on top of the projector. And I just did an HDMI in, and so now they can just go straight into the smart board. So you can utilize these configurations you already have in the classroom. The one roadblock I have found in some situations, older projectors don't have HDMI. And so you need to consider that. If you don't use HDMI and you just use a VGA connection, remember you can't stream sound. HDMI allows the sound to go with the image. So I can wirelessly stream a movie to that if I want to, and you'll get the sound and the image and everything because of the HDMI. If this connection from the box into your projector goes VGA only, you'll still have to plug in to the speaker connection on the iPad for the sound you want to go with it. So that's considerations to take into account. Yes?
Do you suggest then the Apple TV box with a smart board, if that's what we have?
I think that's a very fast way to connect in these mobile devices for a nominal cost. Is I think $100, $99 for those. And you know, they make these hardwired dongles that you can connect in. To me, those are sort of nightmarish because they get yanked and turned and bent, and you know, they get broken, and you know, that's a lot of money. You start replacing those, you're doing $20, $30 a pop to get another one of those things. You get the box, you then can really create any projection system that has an HDMI input as now your access point also for those iPads to project, just by selecting the source on that projector. So I would recommend that. Questions? Yes?
Just say I have my classroom, we have the panel board set up.
Yes.
We just added the Apple TV to that this quarter. And it mostly works. It has some problems with the sound, doesn't come through as clearly, and the picture is not nearly as crisp as it is on the actual TV screen.
Yeah, it's a different type of structure in terms of how that image is being created with the TV versus a projection system through that. Other questions?
Is there an adapter that would connect the HDMI to older projectors? I mean, I know that.
Yes, there is an adapter. What you will lose is sound,
Right.
but there is an adapter. I have one of those just as an emergency to plug in. But again, you would just need to plug that audio source in directly. You can as well run straight from the TVs. They make the inputs for a PC cord, the old VGA style that you can go into your laptop. So in our classrooms we have a TV. There is a cord that we have usually to a presenter station where they can set their laptop and they can plug in straight into that. You're just changing the source on here. And then they have the option to just use the iPad if they wanted to, either through their computer or independently on that separate source, the HDMI source. Yeah.
Is there a method to not have Apple TV if that's an option for us and use like iPad to computer hardwired to smartboard?
Yes, which is what I would do with AirServe.
Okay.
I have AirServe, which is an application that Apple puts out.
If we're running iPad to Windows computer.
iPad to Windows computer, I think you can use
Reflector.
And Reflector is one that I know that's been used. It's been a while since I've had my PC. AirParrot, yes, that's another one. AirServer might have a Windows version. Do they have a Windows version? Okay.
I think AirParrot is the Windows version.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I haven't really used that, so you have to
Reflector
inquire.
works better than AirParrot. And if your PC is older, Reflector will jumble.
Yes.
If your PC is new,
Brand new.
then Reflector should work okay.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
I had an old PC and it jumped all the time.
Yeah.
And I said, I need a new piece. So they gave me a new one and it
Yeah.
doesn't jump.
Yes. Yeah. So you have to investigate your situation just a little bit and see what's going to make the most sense with image quality, sound, and then also cost structure that you'd want to have. Yeah.
If you were advising, let's say, your school board, and they're thinking about smart boards and such, that investment, would this be a better alternative or cheaper alternative to still get the same results?
Yes. I was visiting a school in Los Angeles, and you know they've had a little problem with that. But I was there, and one of the superintendents of the system of schools, when we got done, they had a lot of interactive whiteboards in there. They were really wanting to look at the iPad and bring those things in a sound way. And I said, you know, you really don't need to buy any more of those interactive boards, because I asked her, first of all, I said, well, how much did you spend? She spent $6,700 on each one. Okay. And I started going, okay, $1,800 will go into that, how many times? And I said, you need to stop, you don't need to do that. And it's not that I have anything against those boards, I just say, is that content that they're getting, you know, the notebook of all the activities and the tool, can those not be replaced somehow by something that you can access? And I mean, I don't know. It just seems like to me you're sinking a lot of money into something that, one, you've got a cost of ownership that's much higher in the end because of bulb life versus screen life. I mean, that's a big, big difference between those. And I think the image quality, I mean, I have to close every blind in the room I'm in to even see that smartboard in that classroom. And I mean, it's like, okay, we're going to go in the dungeon so we can watch this for a minute. This, you don't have that problem. I mean, it's a much different situation that you have. It's very, very different. Okay, we're going to go through a series of apps, and just for my curiosity, I'm going to ask a question at each one of these and see how many of you have used it before, because if I find that, you know, 95% have used this before, I'm going to skip and go to another one, because I've got way more than I ever covered today. Let's take a look at Screen Chomp. Anyone used this before? Okay, a few people. I'm going to start this presentation in terms of how do you get this content over to the students and onto things like presentation systems, and starting kind of with the simplest to the most complex in terms of learning curve and looking at you know, how can you quickly get into the mode of using these. Screen Chomp, actually I find a lot of great use, especially at the elementary school level for this. It's a quick way to do an image or writing, or you can put something as the background here, you can make marks on it, you can clear it away, you can use it just as a plain whiteboard if you want to, and you can save through recording. So if you wanted to show someone how to do multiplication, then you could write it, the problem, and do that, and then it would record it, and they could watch it again and again and again if you wanted that to happen. What I tend to use this more for is, you can take a picture, or you can go to your photos library, and I'm just going to hold one up here. And so let's say this is my image, and I want to present this, and I'm talking about the different levels of using apps with understanding applying, you know, the thinking levels here. I can go and choose my pen and begin to highlight these things however I want to do. I can change colors and do this, you know, on the document. I can go and erase things, of course, you know, I don't want that line there, or I can erase the whole thing. Kind of like that little how you feel like you're on a whiteboard. But you can save this. And the other way, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing to use this is in a science classroom, you know, they were doing an experiment, and they wanted to, let me see if I can get my camera on this. Oh, there we go. And so they went by the student stations, and there was a little problem going on with the way they were doing the procedure. And if this was my experiment, this is not that great, but they then were able to put this up there and say, hey, everyone stop for just a moment, take a look here and make sure that you've done this at this part of your experiment. Note that and be able to put that information there, which is kind of nice. It's fast. I mean, you can walk around and just take that and it goes right up there. Or it could be, hey, they got some great results. And instead of everybody coming over to that one table, especially little kids, I mean, they kind of scare me anyway because they're all so small, but you know, you get 25 running over to a table and you're like, ah! And so this maybe will allow you to throw it up there. Oh, they can stop and just look and then get right back to work, and you've saved a little downtime running back and forth there. But very fast, it's simple. Doesn't have a lot of features, not a lot of bells and whistles, but you can use this to go over worksheets, questions that you've done. Someone has a paper that's a worksheet, you take a quick picture of that, you have it up here, and you could be writing in the answers, going over that with the students if you want to. Doing math activities, you have a picture of that map, you can draw on that, shade on that, you can erase it, you can, you know, there's just a lot of quick, fast things you can do here. Most of these do allow you to do some sort of recording of your presentation that you're working on, if you want to do that. I don't really use that a whole lot because it's usually just live information we're working on. So screen chunk, any questions about that one? Yes? Either one.
Go ahead. This kind of like Educreations.
Yes.
On Educreations, when you record and save it, you can't bring it back up and edit it.
Yes.
Can you do that with screenshot?
That, I'm not sure. I don't think you can come back up and edit it. I think maybe I wonder if they let you copy it now.
It'll automatically replay it.
Yeah.
Once you're done with the recording, and then if you don't want it, you can just throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's the same sort of thing. I think this one, Educreations, and I think Show Me, once you've recorded that out, it's sort of there, you have to go back and redo that.
Does this have a, I'm sorry, does this have an online reservoir like Educreations, or
Yeah.
do you have to store it in your own?
You're just storing it into your account, and you can send a quick little link to those things. Yeah.
Are these all going to be free apps unless you tell us otherwise?
Oh, I forgot to tell you. And where did it go? I thought I put it on here. It's on the next one. I forgot to put it on this one. Right down here in the lower right, it's going to say if it costs something or if it's free.
Thank you.
It's free, so I forgot to put it on that one. The next one, in fact, we were just talking about Educreations. How many of you have used this? This one has gotten out there a little bit better, so half of you or so doing that, I think is not really too surprising. But it is very similar, and hold on, I forgot to throw that into my quick box there. This has a few more features available to it, and get rid of that. You have a whiteboard palette here. You can do screens, so you can have different screens. You can import a photo. You can put text on that photo if you want to, which is a nice feature. And again, you can draw on it, you can erase. This one doesn't have that nice cloth that goes across the screen. I really like that idea. The kids will really think that's fantastic watching that. So you can do essentially the same thing. You do have a record button so that you can record your lesson, and then again, that's stored on an online repository, so you can send a link to that if someone were absent and you wanted to record your lesson. And I'm not going to go into great detail because really the functionality is very close. It's just a few more features here with this one. And again, it's free. The little icon made it on that one. Any questions about Educreations? I'm not going to go into that in great detail unless someone has a question. Yes?
So when you were recording a lesson, would you just be teaching and talking like
Either. Well, either. Now I have, with one of the ones that, with Show Me, my Miss Hintz, Nina Hintz, who's doing some presentations, she does senior project updates using Show Me, and she records, going through the list of deadlines and things with them on that screen, and sends it to them via a link. So she's never really in front of students when she's doing that. So you could do this outside of the classroom just to feed to the students or parents, or if you wanted to get information. But you could, as I'm standing here.
It'll just pick up your voice as
Yes.
you're talking, explaining whatever you're for.
If you haven't experimented with the microphone on the iPad, it's actually quite good at picking people up a good distance away. But that was one of the first things I did when I got an iPad. I sat in a lecture, and I sat way kind of back over in the left, and I thought, I'm going to see how well this picks up if I can actually hear the person, what they're saying. And I could. So you could have a group of kids even talking and doing things, and it will pick them up. It's very good, surprisingly so for such a compact device. Sometimes those microphones are not that great in terms of quality. Okay, let's take a look at Nearpod. Now, how many of you have used this? Okay, a few people. This one I'm going to spend a little bit more time on because there's a process here, and then that process will be similar to the next few that I showed you. If you have any kind of PowerPoints, keynotes that you've already done presentations for, this is a real time saver for teachers because you're not recreating something from scratch. And my sample here is going to be a PowerPoint that I have for a class, and what I'll do is I'm going to bring it up here, but I'm going to show you something on the screen, the big screen here in just a minute. And I'm going to have Daniel log in as my student, because his screen will be up there in a minute. If you really want, if you have Nearpod and you want to jump in, feel free to download the presentation. And let's see which one I'll do. Get that. this, that's tiny, but it's NMWAI. He's going to log into that while I show you how do you get this ready for this. This is the teacher screen when you're getting ready to run a presentation. Let me get onto the web, because the editing here is going to be done via a laptop, desktop. You can create a Nearpod account. It is a free account to set up. I think you get 5 presentations you can store and have produced ready to go at the maximum before you would pay a subscription. They have different levels of subscriptions for education. You can do an individual, you can do a school, a set of licenses that will allow all the teachers to use it. We have a school license of this, and I have about 20 teachers who have accounts and use this quite a bit. I don't really mandate any of these tools, it's just they found it quite useful. On the web, you're going to take your PowerPoint and save it as a PDF, which is what I did. So you have all the slides in PDF form. You import that just by dragging and dropping that over into Nearpod, and it will begin to set these things into slides. So I'm going to hopefully have you see the slides here. These are all my slides from my presentation. Now, here's where it becomes a bit more interactive in terms of sharing that content. I can now embed activities for the students to do while you're doing the lecture, while you're going over the content. And these can be in a whole range of possibilities. I'll show you what those possibilities are. But the goal here is that I'm going to run this presentation. It's going to come onto his device, and that's what he's going to see. And that's what all the students in my class would see. So you're controlling their iPads in terms of what's going on their screen. And they'll have my slides, and they're going to also get to these activities that they'll do as they go through the presentation. All right?
Can I ask one
Yes.
question? Do we have to have the Apple TV and the wireless connection
No.
to be able to do this?
No.
Okay.
In fact, I probably wouldn't use any projection system because I'm using my iPad to control the presentation, and it's going to their iPads. This is just for you to see. So I would rarely ever have this just sitting up there on the screen. I mean, it's not really neat to have that happen. So these are all my slides. So you can see it's a rather long presentation here. And I teach a class currently, and it's AP Human Geography. So these are some things that I've used in the past. Now, I've been able to embed a slideshow into this presentation, which means I have a collection of pictures. I zip them up into a file, just drag them in there and drop them in. And so the students, when they get to the screen, will be able to just wheel through a set of pictures that I want them to see. Okay? And then when I think they're done, I'll let them go on to the presentation to slide number 3. Oops, sorry.
You control when they go to the next slide?
Yes, yes. This is teacher-controlled presentation, okay, which is the basis of this. There are other questions and things you can put in here. Well, let me go back and show you one that I have not published. So I can show you the types of question slides you can put in. When you go to add, and this is another presentation, a little shorter one, but when I go to add, you can do a generic slide. I can just type on a slide. I mean, I just insert a slide I have. Okay? I can do a slideshow, which is where you collect up the pictures. You just compress it into a zip file, drag that zip file in there, and it does all the rest. You don't have to do anything else. There's polling. So if you wanted to do a poll question and say, well, what do you think about this? You can get their responses and then project that or share it however you want to do. You can do open-ended questions, you can do a quiz, you can insert a video, you can do draw it, you can do web pages. Out of all of those, the one I would say be careful is video, because you have to think about that in terms of bandwidth and so forth, how that's going to work as you're streaming this out to all of these devices. It's kind of like if you said, everybody, go play this video now. And your bandwidth's just going to go, and nobody's going to be able to do much of anything. So it's a way to embed that video here. You can play it, and it can go to their devices and so forth. But think about it. You might try it out. I do that all the time and just see what havoc I can create for my IT department. Yeah, if you see Marshall, you can ask him. He'll tell you that I like to cause problems. But you can do the draw it feature. I'll show you that. I like the web page feature because it's a source that I have previewed. I know it's valuable. It's got great content. It's focused on what we're studying, and it can open up in that browser inside this application, and they don't have to go outside of Nearpod. You know, the second you tell them to go to the internet and search for something, they're getting Lord knows what. This allows you to really define that search quite well. And to draw it, you know, you can draw on an image. This has been done. We'll see an example here in a minute for maps or for science, for processes where they have to draw in the flow of energy and photosynthesis or something. So you can put these activities in place as part of this presentation. Now, what we'll do, and I'm going to try and bring my screen up here. Let me do one thing here. Daniel, you're going to go there. I'm going to come off that screen so he can get on there. And I'm going to go onto my Mac. Put my yes box there. Let's see if we're now right. Oh, there we go. Okay, there, that's a better picture. Yes. So, teacher iPad, student iPad. Now, this is a rather long presentation. I don't know how long it took you to download that, but the more slides and media you have embedded, the longer it's going to take to download on all the machines. Typically, if I know we're going to use this, I'll have this up and say, hey, go ahead and start, put in the code, the pin code, and download the presentation, while perhaps we're doing stuff right at the beginning of class, getting ready to start the lesson. Then they're all up and ready. How do you know they're all connected? Well, the next screen, you can say, well, go ahead and put in your name. You'll notice when he's putting in his name, on my screen, I start to get students logging in. And, if somebody else here is logging in, they'll show up here too. Now, if you're plugged into this presentation, you have to take all the tests and assessments that I do. See how you do. So we've got some students in here, and again, the helpful thing about this list is you can keep track of who's with you, who's not, and know that everybody's there. This also can work when you have classroom sets of iPads where you have students paired off and they want to work together on the questions and the activities you have embedded. So you could use this for as many iPads and configurations you want. And again, when I am ready for them to go on, they can go on. Down here at the bottom, I can scroll around and see all my slides. I can go in whatever order I want to, which I also like, because when you're trying to do that within the regular Keynote or PowerPoint, sometimes that's a little tricky. You have to close it, start it, play it again, and so forth. This, I could go straight to this slide if I want him to see that next, whatever I choose to do. And then when I click on the slide on the bottom, this is a preview mode. So you see his screen has not changed yet, but I can look at all my slides ahead of time if I want to. I can look at what I have coming next and see what's going on if I want to. When I'm ready to share, I just click share, and then it's going to come up on here. This is the slideshow where I've embedded a zipped file, compressed file of images, so he can go and look at these. And it might be a question that I was asking orally to the students. What do all these pieces of architecture have in common? What do they represent? And you can start a dialogue a bit about how this plays into the culture and religion aspect. So you have this slideshow. You see he can control how long he's looking at those images, go back and forth. So once he's had enough time to see them all, he can say, well, I want to go on to the next slide that's going to come up on his. And these are just basic text slides that you can provide to them. Then you can have questions. Give some examples you can observe in your community of human behavior related to belief systems. And so Daniel would type in his answer, and you'll see on my screen, on the teacher screen, answers will start to show up. Okay? And you know, Daniel's done this with me for a number of presentations. I think eventually he would come up with a good answer to this. Wow, he's right on. Now, he's not in my class, so I can't say, you know, we've already studied this, and you know what, I haven't. But wrong answer. So we've got answers and wrong answers. But any of these we can look at, and if I want everyone here to say, oh, wrong answer is a great thing for everyone to know. And actually we go to all their screens, so I can share it with everybody if I want to. But I don't think I would do that in that case, but you can do it. If you have a question that's a right or wrong answer, you can get responses when it comes to quizzes and so forth. You'll also know who has not answered, how many have not answered this open-ended question here. So if you had a class 25, you can say, well, I need some more to come chime in here so we can get a better percentage for them. Again, just slides. I'm not going to make you learn all this content today. Now, let's see if it will. Did you get an image to come up? On yours? That's interesting. I did have an image here, and I don't know why it didn't come through to his. That on this image, it was a world map. And that world map he could draw on. So, I mean, you can probably go ahead and use the tools. I don't know what it's going to look like. And he can draw on this, just make some marks on there so you can get the general idea, but my image has gone away. And when he's done, he could send that. I'm going to get thumbnail images of this. And I can peruse them down the list. Oh no, there I am. But these are going well. But you can see, you can scroll through these images, and again, if I wanted to share this with everyone and say, oh look, that's a great example, and I could do so, and everybody would get that. So you could use this as examples and non-examples if you wanted to. As a way to teach a bit. But I like the drawing feature. A lot of the math work that we do where we want to learn about locations and origins and parts of religions and things like that, we can quickly identify those. Yes?
Can you draw on your slides as teacher?
No, I cannot on here. No, they're just going to be slides from their machines. Okay. Now I could embed a slide of what I wanted it to look like as my next slide if I wanted to. I mean, I could do that. And again, when we're done, I'll go to the next image. Let me see if I have some other examples here. Any other questions in here or not? But you get the idea. You can put quiz questions in here. One thing I'll say about quizzes, you can do true, false, multiple choice. You can do a short answer. Those results will be emailed to you in a spreadsheet form. So, yeah, if I had 25 students and I had 5-question quiz, then they would take the quiz. When they're done, that would be sent to my email from the teacher account to my email. It will be in a spreadsheet format, students' names, each question, how they performed, and then a total percentage. So if you want to get a quiz in the middle of this or at the end of it, you certainly can do so. You can embed that in here. Yes?
With the one where you had the picture and he was going to draw on it,
yeah.
How did you as a teacher set that up?
I just imported a background image. When you choose to draw a question on there, it will say, do you want a background image? And you just select it from your computer.
Okay, so it was one of the short answer questions, or just a draw it?
It's draw it. It's draw it. And you can either just leave it blank. You may just say, I want you to draw a right triangle. And they have to draw a right triangle. And then you're looking at examples and non-examples. Or you can say, here's a map, identify North Carolina, shade in. And they would have to shade that in, and then you'd see that. So either way.
Does he save the presentation then, or does it just disappear at the end of class?
Well, it magically disappears from his device. That's one of the things that I think needs to be thought about with an earpod. There's the ability for the student in this, especially as you go higher up in the grade level, you want them perhaps to have an opportunity, let's say, to take some additional notes. This platform really doesn't allow for that. Lecture tools, which there's some information I've placed in the Edmodo site. There's a 2-page document about lecture tools you can take a look at. It does essentially the same thing this is doing. It's designed out through University of Michigan, so it's a higher ed focus or higher age range, because they have a pane on the side where students can type notes, and then they can save that presentation.
I was just looking at here about a second. For the paid ones, kids can look at it later.
Yes, yes, yes. Because what I do is I'll save my PDF of my presentation to my classroom site on Edmodo, so they can go back and see my presentation. What they can't do while this is going on is notes, and take some notes if you wanted to go that route in that format. So you think about that, and you can take a look at lecture tools and see they have a different cost structure and so forth for education. And like I said, it's essentially the same process. You're throwing in your PowerPoint or Keynote in the PDF form, you're embedding questions, and then students get that. With lecture tools, students can also do self-paced. That means they get your entire presentation at one time, they can go through. Some of the issues there is if, if I've taught 6th grade before, I'll have students on slide 28 while I'm on number 3. So you have to think about that dynamic a little bit in terms of self-paced and what that really means. Yeah.
If they accidentally push the home button or get out of it during the presentation, do they have to log back in?
Yes, and they'll actually disappear off my list.
Okay.
And so I know, oh, wait, somebody's not there. Who is it? So I would lose them on my list. Yeah.
What are your share options?
When you go to, I can send this out to the students if I had a quick group email or something like that, and I want to say, hey, let's get on here, we're going to do this presentation. You can share, you can share it out that way if you wanted to.
And could we, I'm assuming since we can't, I'm sure a lot of at least elementary teachers have will have more smartboard notebook files than PowerPoint files at this point. It's not compatible.
Can you save them as a PDF? If you can save it as a PDF, as slides, like in a PDF, it's a drag and drop process.
None of the interactives.
Right. The interactive pieces in your PowerPoint, like if I took my Keynote and I had things that swooshed from the side and did all this, it's not going to take that. It's just going to take the base slides and package and throw that in there as static content, and then you're embedding this other interactive material at that point. Yep.
With the draw, is there a way to have a picture of, or just have text, like I'm an English teacher, for them to annotate and for me to be able to get their annotated answers? Like if I put a solve up there?
Yeah, you could scan it to PDF, or you can take a PDF of that, insert that, or you could take a quick little picture of it if you wanted to of the text. They could go in and say, underline where you find this literary device used, and they could underline it, and then that would come up on your screen, yes.
If you're doing the examples and non-examples from students' iPads, does it identify the student that that's coming from their screen?
It depends on what you have on that screen at the moment in terms of the content.
It didn't look like it was.
Yeah, it won't unless you had them with their name and something that they were doing on that. On their iPad as part of that activity you were having to do. But inherently, like the maps, they're just going to, if we're drawing on a map, the maps are just going to come up. You're sharing it. You can tell who it's coming from.
Right.
But it's just going to come up as that map picture on there.
Okay.
Now, if they put their name, hey, that did this, and they might have their name.
Can you add questions as you go, or does everything have to be pre-planned?
Everything needs to be pre-planned here because you're packaging your presentation kind of as a unit. One thing you can do when you have a school account is you can share presentations. So if you had teachers that taught the same curriculum, multiple teachers, you could have a group of teachers doing different presentations of different pieces of the content and just sharing those intermixed between teachers of the school account. Yes?
So if I'm rolling this up to my school, because currently my school is entertaining, where do we go from here? The students don't have the ability to annotate on this as you described. So for a kid who needs to write, needs to get this stuff down, in a classroom practically, do they just have pen and paper next to them, or are they able to switch between apps so that they can
You could have them switch between apps just knowing that's what they were doing. But I don't know, my experience with kids, I think the ideal thing would be to have that note-taking pane there on the screen so that they're seeing that and not having to constantly switch back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. In our situation, most commonly, they just would be writing something down. But again, I tend to use this, and they can have the PowerPoint, and our discussion is our discussion, but this is the baseline information that they need to be able to.
So you send this to them separately?
Yeah, just as a PDF. I'll just post it on my site so they can go back and take it. But I'll absolutely, as a shortcoming, I think that you can't take notes like this, but I think that would really be helpful for the students. And they may go that route. We did serve as a pilot school for this when it first was developed. And so occasionally they do check in with us and ask us about it, and that's been one of the things I've passed on to them. With lecture tools, having that may be a little bit more of a motivation to say, oh, we better do that too. So we'll see if they follow suit.
I know this is off topic, but I see you run everything with your mini iPads. Did you at one point have a large one?
Yes, I've had about every version at some point. So.
How do you like that one?
Well,
you won't get my feelings if you give me the answer.
It is lightweight. I don't much like this case. It aggravates me because it slides down, you know, like that. But I like it because of the lighter weight compared to the two which he has. Now the most current one, which my boss's son's been like, have you got one of those? Haven't you got one of those yet? To see, because he thinks it's really great. It's supposed to be about the same weight as this, a little bit of a bigger screen, even a little bit bigger screen. So eventually I'll have a moment and try that one out and see what it likes. But I don't mind it. The thing that I will tell you, and I'm not very good at texting, so this has been a little bit of a new experience for me, but when the keyboard comes up, I can type with my thumbs on this, which I can't do on the I have pretty big hands, but my thumbs can't reach all the way across there. This I can. And at conferences I've been at over the past few weeks, I'll sit there and just take notes doing this. You may have to factor into that, you know, carpal tunnel surgery. On this wrist. Haven't had it on this one yet, but so that may be coming in the future. But you know, I don't mind the smaller screens. Two. They have twos right now. And I've cycled in about 10. You had a mini for a while to try it out because I put about 10 minis out into the student population. I said, just tell me what you think. See what you think compared to the other. And I don't know what you think.
No, they're nice together. It was smaller. The keyboard was probably the most aggravating part. But I mean, besides that, it was kind of hard to vote this one sometimes. But I'm a lot of time.
Yeah. So it's maybe some preference there that you would have. Yeah.
Question, where do you create most of your presentations? Do you create them on the laptop and then dump them?
About half and half.
Really?
You know, I'll put them in Keynote here and then export them out as a PDF and then dump them into something like this if I want to do that. But really about half and half. Now with Nearpod, to create these, you do need a laptop or desktop because the website, you have to go and be able to get those files and drop them in there. That doesn't work real well on the iPad. So you do have to have that as part of what's going on.
But even if your desktop was PC based, you can create it,
yeah.
PowerPoint.
Yeah, because it's PDF, so that's not the matter. It's just the playing of this, I'm using the iPad for mobility. I can be anywhere in the classroom and doing this. Let me see if I can come off my computer here. And incidentally, with I mean that was AirServe, which I was using there, just to my laptop. I see that it just comes up as a feature for what, like you would have an Apple TV show up. It just shows up as my computer called Mac. So whatever your computer's name. Let's go back to Nearpod. Explain everything. Anyone use this? Okay, a couple people use this. This too, you can take a PDF and you can import it. You can also import other types of files, images, from Dropbox, from these cloud storage services. and drop them into this. It retains your slides, so you have, if you had 25 slides, you'll have 25 frames within Explain Everything. And then you can use it for a presentation where you can draw on it, you can highlight, you can add things to it on each slide as you go through. Still, the students would be just seeing this on the screen or receiving a PDF, and they could be annotating the PDF while you're doing the lecture. This does not control the student devices. Okay, so it's different in that respect. But, what I did was I tried to use the same presentation so you can see a little correlation between the features here. So it'll look a little familiar when I throw it up here. Maybe I'll... Yeah, we'll put it over here for a minute. So I have my religion PowerPoint here. Now I've arranged things a little differently because, and what I like about this is the capability to manipulate the images and the media that you put into the slides. In my class where we're dealing with a lot of sometimes graphs, sometimes we're dealing with maps, one of the frustrating things with maps is if it's a static image, if the image quality is not that good, it's hard for them to see the detail. The nice thing here is you can zoom in and really see whatever you need to see in up close and personal. So these are my pictures that Daniel saw on Nearpod in his little slideshow. Now, if I'm presenting this, I could then bring them up and show them individually, and I just put them away. I could talk about each one of these if I wanted to. And this ability to manipulate the images can be very, very useful. Oops, sorry, manipulating the wrong image there. I'm tearing up the presentation. I think you get the idea. But you can go through and enlarge those images. I've done, when we do a lot of map projection studies, you know, we have a lot of examples of different things for, in science, when you have processes, you can take screenshots or images of each one of those processes and bring those up and just look at them individually one at a time. But then my slides are all still here because I'm just cycling through them. And I can embed my questions here. They're not really responding so I can see in this case. They would just be taking some notes as we go through these slides all along the way. But again, the nice feature is with these things, I mean, you can zoom way in and get great detail on the map. I really like that. Even text. When we're going through and reading selections or parts of article, I actually can zoom right in on that one piece and, you know, we can reread that sentence and say, what do you think he's trying to make a point there? So that ability is something that is really a positive when you're using the Apple TV and going straight from that iPad and that pinch and zoom feature to focus in on a real particular part of an object. Yes?
How dependent is that on the initial quality of the image?
Well, it would be very dependent. I mean, if you know you want to zoom in and get really, really fine detail, then you're going to have a pretty hefty image that you'd want to put in there in terms of file size.
But you have to find like a really high quality image for the zoom feature to work.
Yeah, and in general on the iPad, if you're searching for those images, if you zoom in and you've got good quality with it, a lot of times you can save it out to where it's going to work out for you with the quality.
Do you share this with the student iPad as well?
This does not share directly to his device. We would be doing this projected in front of the full class. What I would do is they'd have the PDF of this, and they could then be taking notes on that through annotation, through using Annotate, PDF Max, or any of the annotators that you want to use for your school. So this is really teacher presenting. This is what you're doing, not really controlling the student devices. And the difference here with Nearpod, if you want to be able to manipulate the content a little bit and make it more students going to take notes, then you might want to choose something like this because you still have all your slides. You do have the ability to record. You then can save these out to the cloud to your account. Again, you get a link. You can send students to that. They can take a look at it. This has a lot of features to it. There's a lot of things you can do with this application. All the tools on the side, you can add text, you can add shapes, you can highlight areas. You can use, you know, a pen pointer and, you know, have, you know, your laser pointer on your screen, and you can point things out. So you have that capability with presentations, and, you know, you can make the toolbar hide away if you want to, record, and then you can upload what you've done to YouTube if you want to. You can put it on a camera roll on your iPad if you want your memory to go away really fast, or you can throw it out to one of these other air servers. terms of those cloud storage options. And have your kids get to it that way if you want them to be able to access that later.
Are you talking about like after you've drawn
Yeah.
on and
Yeah.
all of that?
Mhm. It will save it out there. Now when you're, if I go back to, I'm going to just cancel that because I don't want to save it. Messed it up. If you go back to my main screen here, if I want to start with a new presentation, I can choose a particular set of photos or a photo that I have here. I can use iTunes to bring things in. I can use my Dropbox account and I can draw in PDFs and documents that I have from whatever. I can go to my Evernote. I haven't logged in on this one with my Evernote, but I have all my class stuffs on my Evernote, so I could go there and grab that. If you use Google Drive, you could access that, or WebDAV if you have that installed with a system within your school. So you have lots of options that you can draw in the content that you may already have out there in one of those storage areas. Or you can create one from scratch if you don't want to import it. Either thing. And again, $2.99 if you wanted to use that. Again, it's teacher only really. You could, if you wanted to have students have this tool, if you wanted it to be a presentation option for them to make a project. Final argument. Does anyone use this? 0. Yes. But it's very new. This one I was intrigued by. How many of you used like mind mapping software before? Okay, you have concepts and they're connected, you have lines that you draw to them. This, you can take this same presentation, but would allow you to navigate it on your own pace a bit more, depending on the students or the groups that you have in a class. And if I go to this, I have the same presentation again, so you can see a little correlation as to how I've mapped this out. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I'm going to hide that away. Intermission. Oh, I have to tell it to present, I guess, here. And I want to go to... Oh, there we go. Okay. This is actually not going to show my screen up there. So, that's my tiny screen. But I've got this presentation actually mapped out, connected in a path that I think I would want to go. And I can decide which one to choose. It will tell me my next slide I should go to, but I really could switch around and go to any one of them that I wanted to and do this presentation. And again, at whatever rate I wanted to, you can control what's seen on the screen a little bit with another application here, window. You can shrink that down. Again, you can zoom way in if you want to see a very small portion of that map. This one you can record on, but the interesting thing again was the ability to have a map of what you wanted to cover. This might be good for looking at processes, maybe different elements of a story or a novel where you wanted to talk about the plot or the setting, and you could navigate that as you need to. And the presentation is going to go whatever you're tapping on at that moment. You could make that show up on that screen. So a little different thought process where now you're, how many of you used Prezi before? Now you have Prezi's kind of this space, you know, and you pop all your information in this space and then you can link it up to sort of travel and spin and dive and do all these things from one slide to the next. This is similar in that you have this space. I can add another frame wherever I want to add it. I can import the documents from my different servers straight into here. Images, PDF files, whatever I want to put in here. And then that can be the content presented up for the students by the teacher. So different idea here. It's a little more expensive in terms of the cost in that structure. I was kind of intrigued with it being a different thought process in terms of putting that content together. So final argument you may want to investigate if you have a lot of sort of global ideas you're trying to show to students, and you're not really sure where a discussion is going to go, but you want to put some ideas around there and have the students kind of guiding some of that exploratory of the information. Questions about final argument? Yes?
Do the students have to have the app?
No. This is just something you're presenting up there. It's not, you're not controlling other devices with this. That's really relegated to the tools I'm covering today. I've talked about lecture tools and nearby with those. Let's look at, how many of you show me? This also tends to be a little bit more popular one. This is very basic, and this is kind of my other category, because this could go at the beginning of my presentation if I wanted to. It's going to act very much like a whiteboard that you can record things on. And again, you can write, erase, do colors, and save and record. As I said, one of my teachers, Ms. Hintz, she'll be around here today, she does her senior project information. She'll have their little outline of things to do and talk to them and tell them and then send them a link and they get that information quickly. Yes?
I've seen teachers create some of these videos, and just broadcasting apps like
yes.
screenshot information, showing QR codes, and just have the students have a notebook with QR codes, so that way they're choosing working on a certain skill, creating a video for it, the kids could then take the code home, scan it, and
pop it in there. That's right. Any URL you can just make quickly through a number of different sites into a QR code. That QR code can be placed anywhere. Like on the front of your folder, that is just a URL. It's a QR code. You scan it, and up comes the PDF of what we have here at the conference. So you can do that. I've seen schools where the teachers outside their door, they have that night's homework as a QR code, and students, if they need to get that onto their phone mode, they just scan it and then they have it. So you can use those for quick access to information in certain situations. This one is free. If you want to go a little different direction, TouchCast. Anyone use this? Okay. You've used a lot of things. That's good.
Flip my classroom.
Yeah, very good. This one's good for that. I mean, this has some good features. With TouchCast, and this time you're not going to have to take a picture of me because I'll have my own face come up there, I suppose. You can create a video and bring in content and play it. I mean, they sort of frame this as if you're doing like a newscast, let's say. This was a sample one just brought out. You can put in a frame, so you can go grab a website or information, plop that in a frame here, so it's sort of like a newscast, you know, where you can bring in these different elements. Anyway, those little blue dots along the bottom, if you watch, that's where certain changes are happening within the frame, like we've taken one away, then it's going to be taken away. So you have these as markers so you know when things are happening. You do have to have a little planning. That's sort of discerning. He's gone. He's behind that somewhere. I think I moved that over just a bit. But you do have that possibility. And again, you can create your own. And you can do that by choosing a template. You know, if I want to do my own little newscast, I can do that. You frame yourself in there. And you can type in, you can manipulate all of these bylines and things going on. You know, you can put in the title. It can be searched through their list of possibilities. And I find this is not so much maybe you can use it for flipping the classroom and that sort of concept, certainly. But what a great thing for kids to be able to do, to create their own newscast. Hopefully most of you saw the elementary students that were down at that end yesterday. I mean, that's sort of the highlight of the conference for me, because those little kids, they get in there and they make their videos and they just really get into it. And I know our media classes have used this for some things they're doing, and I could really see this applicable to young kids being able to put together projects and things they want to cover. Very quick, very easy. You can get links to these so that they can be opened up remotely and viewed later. It's a great little quick tool. And again, it's free, I believe, still at the moment.
How do parents, like if you wanted to send it to parents, how do they do it?
It'd be through a link and it will come up in a little player thing.
So if you have a newsletter, every few weeks you would do a link in the newsletter.
Yes. And I don't know if you want to use yourself and be, you know, all of them, but you can use whatever images you want. Yeah. My screen looks like this. Yeah. So it's going to look just like that. Yeah, you can just set it down. You can turn the camera if you want it to point and, you know, show the crowd here and then talk. I mean, you can do that. There's great examples on there. I'd say look at some of those before you dive in yourself so you get an idea of how they set these things up. Yeah.
Do you know about the length of the video? Because I've used Loopster a lot too, but in Loopster, I mean, if you get past 5-6 minutes, it stops working. You know?
Yes, and here's where it's stopping working. Most of the time, this is the problem I find. When it's trying to render that out to a format where it's going to place that onto the web, sometimes really large files just tend to have problems. It could be, maybe it loses connection for just a bit while it's trying to upload that and plug that in. Or rendering. Explain everything. They have fixed this early on when I started using that. I was saving the projects. It would sit there and go, and get it, you know, it would take a long time to render, and it was so disappointing after sitting there for 20 minutes waiting for that to render, and then it just stops. You know, oh, didn't work. I think those functionalities will probably improve as we move forward. I would certainly sample it out. I think the longer presentation you're putting on these things, the more possibility you have of that having a little problem all the way. But certainly take time to report those sort of functionality issues to the developers, because some of them are very responsive. Some are not, but some are. And if you go through the log of update history of any app, then you can kind of determine who's a responsive developer and who's not. That's one of the things I do usually before paying for an app for a whole school to use. Well, let's see how with it they are with keeping up with the times. You can go through the update history of any app and see if they've updated one time in 3 years. I'm not sure I'd mess with that app. That one may be on the way out. It's getting ready to be booted. I think I'd look at something, you know, every month or two they've gone through and fixed the bug here, fixed the bug there. And if they're not responsive, it's just, you're probably on a dead-end road. Yeah, you're probably on a dead-end road. Nomia, anyone use Nomia? Daniel, find out how much time I have left. I'm talking about Nomia. This one also is free, a little bit different. This one to me makes a little more sense because a long time ago, when I originally was in school, I was in radio and television, so I liked the way this one looked because it appealed to my sense of wanting to have organization of things, and editing video and that sort of thing. This one, I mean, you all from North Carolina. Oh yes, home base. Yes. I made a little video here to send out to my teachers about how to create assessments using Homebase. So I put this together. I have my slides, my frames that change. I have content down here that I can use. It goes by props, so you can download props, which could be pictures, images, could be text, whatever you want, and these can be dropped into this. You hit record, and you record. Speak while you're on this frame. You can hit stop. Go to the next one. Speak while you're on that frame. So you're actually building out your video. And then at the end, you know, it will play seamlessly as one show, changing these pictures as it gets to those points. So I got 7 seconds, 16, 17, 19. So this will all be one project when it's done. Then you can save that out there. And again, they click on a link. They can watch this little tutorial on how to log in and go to Homebase and develop an assessment for Common Core ELA 6 rate if they want to. So it will take them through that process. And again, you can draw on these while you're recording. So you can highlight things, you can underline things, you can interact with the content you have here during that recording process. So again, this one's free. I don't know if they have a paid level with more tools or more storage or anything. Honestly, I haven't looked at that in a while. But I liked it because it just seemed a little bit intuitive once I got in there. There are some examples of this as well. And it worked quite well for this. I mean, teachers were able to get it and watch it with very, very little difficulty. How much time do I have? 3 minutes. Okay. How many of you have the document cameras? Yes. How many of you math teachers? Math teachers. love document cameras. Mine all do. One thing you can do, and I've been curious about this, is use the camera on here as your document camera connected to the Apple TV so you can project up onto the presentation system you have. I bought a stand from a vendor because I was curious, you know, I want to try this and just sort of see. And when it came in, I took it upstairs to my math teacher and said, here you go, use it, I want you to tell me about it, see good, bad, and the ugly. It had some design features I don't quite get, but I'm not sure the person knew the iPad very well who designed it. So I wouldn't really recommend it, but there are some other options since that time that I think are much better, where you can use this, and with Board Cam, let me go to that, you would have this sitting above, you know, your paper, or math teachers like to write out the problems and show where, you know, carry down the numbers and so forth. You can use this, and you can also do some things on the screen yourself from the iPad. That means you can highlight certain things. So let's say you had some predetermined image under here. You could highlight, you could type messages on here that would appear on here, and you know, not mess up your sheet. If you didn't want to mess up the sheet, you had a master copper that copied here. Yeah. So you can zoom in on this, you can zoom out. Here's one thing to consider. The stand I had did not have its own light source. As you can tell, images on these cameras, especially if you're zooming in, they get more and more grainy as the light starts to drop away. I would recommend looking and investigating, you know, what kind of light source does a stand have that I'd be considering, because you probably want that still. But I don't know, I think some of those document cameras can be $300 or $500, so it could be a savings of just having the iPad actually acting as your document camera with some interactivity features that then you could show up there for the students. So perhaps a savings depending on your situation. Now I will be very honest, I haven't sold all my math teachers on this. You know, they still have some questions about it, and I do too. But I think it will come around a bit and become a bit more user-friendly, and maybe you know, something more of an option in the classroom. Yeah.
So that would, I would take a picture, like with our Shirley Grammar. So if I was taking a picture of our Shirley Grammar, I was doing the question and answer flow.
Yeah.
I could take a picture of that and I use a write on it as they were doing.
Yeah. So here, if I hit freeze, what that's going to do is it's taking a picture of that, and now I can go in here. I can select my tools. Sorry, my rotation one. So I could select my tools, and I could then draw on this.
Okay.
Or, you know, I can use a highlighter and I can highlight the follow along.
Yeah, because I've been taking a picture with it and then using Edgy Creations and plugging it in and doing it that way, but this is so much easier and it's quicker for when I'm teaching.
Yeah, so you take a quick picture there. Any of these things you draw and annotate, you can erase and take away too. Yeah. This one, $4.99.
You take multiple pictures and store it?
Let's see, hold on. Is that fun for you? I don't think so. I think it's just one at a time. I believe it.
Is there a text feature with this where you can actually...
Yes, you can do labels, and you can put in a label. You're just double tapping, and again, put in, yes, done. And then you can actually move that label wherever you want. So you can put that wherever you want that picture. Okay, quickly, I know we're getting down to the bell here. By this time of, well, not only the conference, the session, but the conference in general, our brains are being quite full. Here's my recommendation. Pick one or two of these things that seem like they fit the best in what you're doing. Explore them. Become proficient with them. Add all the bells and whistles that that particular item has. And when you get to the point where, gosh, this doesn't have quite everything I need, maybe step up to the next one that has even more features. And then supplement your presentations with whatever out of that toolbox you're developing makes the most sense. That's what I would recommend. And there's a couple of things I would encourage you to do. These articles are posted on the Edmodo in a folder. So if you go to my session and then the folder tab, you'll find all these things in, including this presentations in there as well. But these are really good articles that give you information about using the iPad as a presentation tool. You know, all the options, they suggest a few other applications that I didn't even touch on. There's so many of these out there. I tried to sample ones at different levels that have lots of features, few features, and see where it falls in the gamut of things. But take a little look at that. If you have any questions, you can certainly contact me. And you can take your seatbelts off now.